Copenhagen Wolves have done it, and that was a hard-fought victory. Unicorns of Love have obliterated Gambit. Here's the engage. Horror's gone over the wall. Red got it. Secures it. SK has Dragon number 5.
Froggen gonna get played in. Whoa! So much. Wait a minute. He manages to get power of Evil.
Bridle, flash, play, death sentence.
Terrain over. Bromacia. Let's take down some inhibitors. GG. Fnatic is 2-0.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second week of the European League Championship Series, coming to you live from our new home here in Berlin, Germany. My name is Trevor Quickshot Henry. Alongside me is none other than Martin Deficio Linger, as we ready ourselves for the 5 LCS matches on the slate today.
Yeah, and last week we saw SK Gaming, Giants Gaming, and of course Fnatic kick off the split here with 2-0 and looking very, very strong. So the pressure is on the rest of the league now here to catch up and make sure none of these teams get further ahead.
Well, let's take a look at the standings and where all of the teams find themselves after only 1 week of games. As you mentioned already, Deficio, Fnatic, Giants Gaming, and SK, they are at the top of the table, both of them with that 2-win start. Gambit, HTK, and MYM, however, are still looking for their first win, and Knowledge Bomb, they're going to get one today.
You are a very smart man, Trevor. Elements and Rocket, one-on-one, mixed performance week 1, can't really be too happy about it, especially the way Elements lost to Fnatic. Very big difference in coordination and aggression, of course, here, so they really want to step it up this week.
Yeah, they do. I want to talk a little bit more about Fnatic, as well as SK and Giants. Yesterday on Primetime League, Shox asked a brilliant question. Who are the pretenders and who are the contenders for the top of the table? You have to think that Giants are flirting with the pretender role a little bit. Fnatic, on the other hand, led by Yellowstar, who was the week 1 MVP. Just phenomenal performance and great games from the team and from Yellowstar.
Yeah, Yellowstar is just so important. Again, he's the guy who's starting every single fight on this Annie support here. He's the shot call, he's the captain, he's the guy who picked the team. Everything is built around Yellowstar at the moment. So I actually hope to see somebody try and maybe target him a little bit, ban away that Annie here, see if he can play something else, or if he has the same impact on the likes of maybe a Janna.
Maybe we'll see him on something like a Leon if Annie's taken away.
Could be.
On the other side of the spectrum, you're going to look at the bottom of the table teams, Gambit, Meteor Wakers, and HTK. They all started 0-2. There was a lot of expectation and hype for some of the guys. The one thing I want to highlight is not necessarily their performances, but how important it is for them to pick up wins this week. Because a team that goes 0-2 or 0-4 in an 18-game split is going to be so much more difficult to make playoffs.
Yeah, especially again, top 6 gets into the playoff here, and if you end up as number 10 in the standings, you are down in the Challenger Series. You're not going to play relegation here. So for these teams, if you do end up being 0-4, there's so much pressure on you here. Again, you're going to start thinking about replacement and everything. Like it's a terrible situation. I was 0-9 on Copenhagen Wolves. It's never fun. So they really need to start picking up some wins.
Yeah, if that were this season, that would be 50% of your games played.
We'd be gone already.
Next to impossible. Right, so talked about the table, we talked about the teams. Something else that stood out in my mind was the champion diversity. From week 1, we did see 40 unique champions played. 9 of them were available last year, but they weren't actually seen. The likes of Cassiopeia, Olaf, Hecarim, etc. You've also got Annie, Janna. A big one for me, the Siva and the Cassiopeia. You know, Cassio coming back. Last time she was in the meta was sort of season 2.
Yeah.
And Sion with the rework, obviously, in the hands of Oda1.
And also, like Cassiopeia here, getting a few changes to her kit as well. So there's been a lot of changes to the champions. The map, of course, is different. Dragon's no longer given the global goal. Open up for a few other champions. Right now, we see a lot of focus on like hard engage and these mid-game power spikes from certain comps. And we have a lot of different champions as well. So I quite like the current meta because you can play from Teemo to Sion in this top lane.
No Teemo yet. We did see the new champions as well. Azir, Nar, Kalista, they did show. The important one for Europe, no Rek'Sai. 10 games, 10 bans. We did see him pop up in North America, but not the jungle revolution we were hoping for.
No, well, at least in Europe, they still consider it to be the most OP jungler there is. And we saw also in NA, even though she had kind of mixed success, he only won 1 game. She's so strong. Her damage is great, mobility, you have a global ulti. You have so many things you add to your team as just one pick, and that's why she's so good.
Yeah, and the other side, Nar plus Jarvan, the Narvan combo. 5-0 between North America and Europe. And there's a great example of how the Cataclysm acting as terrain is just so impactful for Nas Ultimate.
Yeah, and again, also, you're strong early game, both champions, you're strong mid game, you're strong late game, you have a fantastic front line, engage, everything you need. Those two together should never happen. You have to either ban one of them or take it away.
Yeah, 5-0. We'll see if the teams have learned to take them away today. Talking about today, let's take a look at the schedule, because as we said earlier, we can safely say that either H2K or Meet Your Makers will be picking up a win, because they square off against each other in our first match of the day. Then the 1-1 Unicorns of Love will face the undefeated Giants in what I think is going to be a battle that'll give us a taste of who's going to control the middle part of the table.
Yeah, for sure. And after that, of course, we have Fnatic, who came flying out of the gates last week, 2-0, looked fantastic. They take on Rocket, a team we still have fairly high expectations for here and actually expect to be one of the top teams this year.
Yeah, they definitely need to improve upon their performance from last week. Let's take a look at some of the players who we'll be looking at as shoutcasters, and we think you guys at home should also keep in mind. We're going to start with Fnatic's new jungler, Reignover. He got himself a 66% kill participation, 21 assists over the 2 games, and really just very aggressive, very dominant, in your face. His Olaf and his Rengar really impressed last week.
Yeah, and he's also the guy translating for Huni up in the top lane here. His English is great, and he's just been a great addition to the team. And I'm talking about another Korean who sadly does not really have the best situation in terms of communication. Is Rio for H2K. It's not working out so far for him in Europe. His mechanics are still great. We see him, do fairly well in the one-on-one, but he doesn't really add anything to the team game here. And H2K is 0-2 already. Gotta find a way to make Rio work.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he can get rolling. Somebody who got rolling last week, both games played on Jax, was Werlib, top laner for Giants. He was given basically a freebie in both of the games he was played. I want to see if he can maintain control and maintain the level of performance when teams are not going to give him that much freedom. Unicorns of Love, I think they're going to look to shut him down, either take the Jax away or camp it.
They should at least make sure he doesn't have the same kind of impact we have seen beforehand. Now, next player to watch, Freeze. Coming in here as a new AD carry for Copenhagen, was replacing Woolite. He was actually the shining light for them in the first week. He looked very good on Kalista and on Draven, of course, getting these 600 stacks, completely insane numbers. I want to see if he can keep it up, because there might be a lot more focus on him and Unlimited here early on.
Yeah, definitely going to be the case. And of course, one last player to look at will be another AD carry, Forgiven. 0 deaths, a 450 GPM over 2 games. Those are some scary good numbers.
Yeah, the carry SK Gaming desperately needed last year. Question is if they deserve it.
Ooh, we will find out, I guess, if SK can keep that performance up. Contender or pretender? I'm going to use that line because it was a brilliant one.
Contender.
Right, of course, keep an eye on the standings to track those roster changes or to scan the schedule for the big matches over the course of the entire spring split. Head over to lolesports.com.
And of course, if you haven't already checked out the Fantasy LCS page, you should go do it now, because you still have time to draft and put together your dream team, or if you're very unlucky, a terrible team that doesn't give you any points. And speaking of terrible teams, Trevor,
that's a bit loaded.
How did it go in week 1?
That's a bit loaded. I prefer to ignore. I'd lost really badly, so we'll move on. And we are going to take a closer look at today's game. So let's send it over to the analyst desk where Sharks are standing.